Hey, what's happening, y'all? It's me coming back at you again with another vid. Well, okay. I've heard all the ramblings online about the controversial scoring or the draw between Gennady Golovkin versus Canelo Alvarez. Okay, now I was out, I couldn't see the fight live, so I had to, I went out to eat. I came back. I thought I'd go ahead and watch it myself rather than be persuaded by the social media response to the result of the fight. Okay, so this is my honest take on it. Okay, I wanted Gennady Golovkin to win. I really did. If you don't believe me, go take a look at my hangout that me and DCB had, Dream Jason Boxing. Shout out to him. And we both wanted Golovkin to win here, based off the way he's been treated in the negotiation process by Canelo Alvarez. Okay, but I'm gonna be very impartial here. For those of you who said that Golovkin was robbed, that he was a clear winner of this fight, you really got to get off that crack and cocaine. I'm sorry to say that. I'm just being honest. I'm just being very honest. You know what? Let me take that back. I'm probably being too harsh. I'm just gonna say that, you know what? That's your opinion, but that's not what I seen. Okay? There was no clear winner here. The fight was extremely close. It could have gone either way. It was back and forth. It could have gone either Canelo's way. It could have gone either Golovkin's way. But the best score that I had was a draw. Okay, and let me explain why. Golovkin gave away the first 3 rounds to Canelo Alvarez. No question about it. He gave away the first 3 rounds. Then he started to pick up the pace a little bit by cutting off the ring a little bit more, started being more assertive, started letting his hands go. And even though he wasn't landing all his shots, but he was landing probably a little slightly more than Canelo Alvarez. And I think Canelo was taking a break in between rounds 4 and 5 because Canelo likes and it has learned to fight more in spurts rather than try to conserve all his energy to get to knock out top level opposition, which he understands that's not going to happen at this stage of his career. Okay, and when he did take those rounds off, he did pick it back up, Canelo. He started to keep Golovkin in the center of the ring like his corner told him to do. You got to keep the fight in the center of the ring. You cannot allow Golovkin to try to back you up all the time. And in some cases, Golovkin was doing that, but Canelo throwing his combinations, throwing his counter uppercuts, which he was very vulnerable to, especially with the counter right and left hooks, especially to the body. He was backing Golovkin up back to the center of the ring. And that's the only way you can beat Golovkin at this point is try to keep him in the center of the ring. But again, people saying that Canelo was running in this fight. All right, how many times has this has been explained? All right, I'm not Golovkin. Canelo fights off the back foot. That's what he's very effective at doing. Okay, he likes to fight off the ropes. That's what he's very good at. Okay, the only thing Canelo is not very good at is when he comes forward and try to pressure you. That's not his game. You've seen how well you seen not how well you seen how he performed against Arizona Lara and Floyd Mayweather when he tried to pressure those guys. He's not very good at pressure fighting. Okay, he couldn't cut off the ring against those guys effectively. So he welcomed the pressure style and technique of Gennady Golovkin. It was tailor made for him, and you seen he was able to get off his shots. And once again, Golovkin with his very poor defense, who doesn't move his head, who has very slow reflexes, was getting tagged the entire night. Okay, and this is probably the most I've ever seen Golovkin get hit in any fight. Okay, he was getting hit a lot, aside from the Danny Jacobs fight, and the body shots that Canelo was throwing on him was really, really taking a toll on Golovkin because every time in between round breaks, he was breathing very hard. He was gasping for air. So those body shots was really getting to him, okay? And I think Canelo should have got more concentrate more into the body to neutralize his legs. And apparently he didn't because he was landing too many. He was focused more on the upstairs hand shots. So um, to Golovkin's fairness, he, like I said, he did come back. He started to rally back. He started to close the gap. He was starting to cut off the ring a little bit more effectively. He was able to put his punches together. Again, his jab was probably his best. Well, his jab was good, but it was not on point like it was in his previous 2 fights against, or his previous fights by that matter, like the likes of David Lemieux, Kell Brook, and Danny Jacobs. Um, Again, whenever he threw his left jab, he was getting countered with the right cross. So that's why he was a little bit more timid to throw that jab. But he kept coming forward, and try to let his hands go. But again, I have to point out he's very, very slow. He has slow hand speed, and that's why Canelo's able to time him very well, and he can see his punches coming. Okay, so. And another thing I have to say about Golovkin is that he looked very sloppy in there. This is probably the most sloppy I've ever seen him. Other than the Kell Brook fight, he looked a lot more sloppy in there in this fight than he did against Kell Brook. Okay, and a lot of people saying that he was the aggressor. Okay, there's a difference between being an aggressor and being the effective aggressor. Was Golovkin being an aggressor to some degree effectively? Yes, but he was not entirely the effective aggressor. He was missing a whole lot of punches. It was crazy. He was missing a whole lot of them. He was just hitting air almost the entire night. Okay, could that have persuaded the judge Dave Moretti? Perhaps. Sometimes judges look at the activity rate, but then again, judges like Adelaide Bird look at the more effective clean punches, more effective punches, whatnot, the more accuracy, I should say, not effective, but accuracy. But I will say one thing though, speaking of Adelaide Bird, the 118, 110 score was definitely a travesty, okay? That score was way, way off. And no way Canelo won that many rounds. If anything, he won 7 rounds at best, if you scored that way for him, okay? But again, if you ask me, it was 6-6. This fight was a draw, okay? It was no clear-cut winner on both sides. So, Pete, please, the Golovkin fans, stop it, all right? I mean, you guys are the same people who cried, when I say cry, who's saying that that Golovkin dominated Danny Jacobs. I swear there is no rationale when it comes to some of these people. I mean, honestly, I'm just being honest. Now, where do the two fighters go from here? Canelo definitely does, has a rematch clause, so I think he's going to invoke it. He is still the lineal champion. Golovkin is still the unified champion. Definitely both guys will maintain their pound for pound rankings. It doesn't change from the looks of it. But this is where it's going to get a little tricky here, because now some people are arguing, shout out to Blood, by the way. Blood believes that Golovkin is going to go for the undisputed championship fight against Billy Joe Saunders. I don't think that's going to happen, and let me tell you why. Because as I just mentioned, Canelo is going to get he has a rematch clause, and he will definitely invoke it. Number one. Number two, Golovkin, though he didn't lose the fight, he still holds on to the WBC title strap. The WBC is going to order that fight between Golovkin versus Charlo. I see it coming. I think it's going to happen. They're going to order that fight, and Golovkin is going to be at a crossroads here. Okay, is either he takes the fight against Canelo, which Canelo has a right to rematch clause, or if he wants to keep his title, he's got to fight Jermell Charlo. And I don't see him fighting Charlo because he's going to take the money route. So he more likely is going to vacate that belt. So that's what's going to happen. So I don't see a Billy Joe Saunders fight happening at this point. No way in hell. I don't see that happening. And speaking of Billy Joe Saunders, in case anybody doesn't know, he called out Amir Khan. I'm definitely doing a video on that. He called out Amir Khan. He wants that fight. So I wouldn't be surprised if Amir Khan takes that fight. So I will definitely do a video on that. That's a separate video. But again, good fight, by the way. It was a very good fight, But was it very explosive and exciting as Joshua and Klitschko? No, not in my opinion. No, I don't think so. But definitely you could probably put it up there as a Fight of the Year candidate. But I think it falls short when it comes to Klitschko and Joshua. So Joshua Klitschko, I should say. So anyhow, yeah. Let me know what your thoughts about this, and let me know how you score this fight. Did you see it the way I'd seen it, or do you see it differently? Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm out.